recently quit a job that I severely loved, but I was being very mistreated at this job. And when I say loved, I don't mean like, oh, it's my favorite job ever, it was my dream job. I mean, as a overall, it was pretty good. Like, there was never really any issues or anything of that sort, especially because, like, in customer service, a lot of the time, there's a lot of issues with customers or being belittled or things that are a little bit out of your control. But in general, I didn't really have that problem. I actually had the complete opposite of that, where people would specifically come in and talk to me like one on one and tell me that the only reason they even come to that store is to talk to me. Uh, And there was a lot of that, like I feel like at the end of the day, no matter what happened, whether I quit it or not, I tried my best to be a good person and to do the job the best that I could at the end of the day. But a big reason that I quit, you might be asking, well, why did you quit then? Was because what was going on behind the scenes. Because I'm a firm believer that nobody deserves to be treated uh, poorly, or nobody deserves to be yelled at, threatened, belittled, or anything of that sort because someone's feelings are hurt or someone doesn't like you. And I get it, workplace tension happens, but I am a person who, in general, I stay in my own lane and I do my own thing, right? Like, even the shifts that I work at that, or I worked at that job, I didn't work with anybody. They were always solo. So there was nothing like I could get into an argument with a coworker or something like that. So if you didn't like me, you just physically didn't like me for the sake of saying you don't. And that's basically it. So I would work night shifts, but every once in a while I would come in and I would pick up a day shift. And there was essentially 2 months ago, I picked up a day shift and was told basically throughout the day that it was a normal day shift. Nothing had changed, everything's perfect, and it was a very relaxing day. I'll say, like a lot of the customers that were coming in were people that don't come in at night, so I got to talk to them. It was a pretty cool day. I like no customers were freaking out. Super relaxed, especially for retail. As relaxed as retail can get. And basically, at that job, we would get every 2 to 3 hours, we'd be allowed to go and sit down for like 5 minutes to like get away to kind of reset that our social battery a little bit, just to give us a little bit of a breather. And at the almost end of my shift, like an hour to 2 hours out, the person who would come in for night shift for that night was they came in and they already had this like massive attitude essentially, and they demanded that I went on my break early. And personally, if you're gonna demand something from me, unless you're a boss and you're asking like, "Hey, you mind doing this?" I'm probably not gonna do it. Just frankly, like especially if you have an attitude about it. So they're demanding this from me, and I go, yeah, I think I'm just gonna wait. I think I'll just wait the 5 minutes until my break time. I'm okay. You're not my boss. We're chilling, and they flip out. Like they start threatening to send me home, which they don't have the power to do. They threaten to get me written up, which they don't have the power to do. They threaten to like get my hours cut, which they don't have the power to do. And they start like raising their voice and trying to basically belittle me in front of the customers and really just making themselves sound obnoxious and super crazy essentially. And I was like, yeah, brother, this just isn't gonna work. Like I don't know what you're on about. I don't know what you're yapping about, but like you doing all this to me doesn't work because I'm just not that type of person. I'm not a person that gets flustered very easily when it comes to social situations. It just unless it's like under some very different pretext. But if you were threatening me, man, I am probably the worst person to threaten. Not because I think I'm super cool or something like that, but in general, I don't care. I don't care if you were going to threaten me. And so this person threatens me. It is what it is. I go on my break on a normal time. They keep flipping out. I'm like, whatever. I move on to the next week. I decide to pick up another mid shift. Basically, the exact same thing happens. And this time, they call the boss. They walk out. They like, they literally clock in. And then when I tell them I'm gonna go on my break, they walk out and they call the boss and like basically come back 10 minutes later and tell me like how the boss said that if I'm gonna do it, that I might as well go the like just you know go home, go the f home essentially. Try and keep the story a little bit PG, but I don't know why. But but yeah, they tell me this, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm okay, unless the boss directly messages me or something like that. I don't care about your threat that they told me I could go home. Like, you're not my boss. They can message me. They can call me if they want to. But I just straight up told my on the spot. I'm like, dude, I'll just get lawyers involved. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not gonna be threatened and harassed because you are upset that I want to take my break at the same time I have taken my break. Keep in mind, for 6 months, because I always pick up an extra mid shift for some extra hours. And after this day, I went on vacation. But before I went on vacation, I specifically was like, this needs to be addressed because this person thinks they have power. They think they have too much power, in fact. Uh, and logically, I think that having some sort of paper trail makes sense, especially if people favorite people, especially in retail spaces. People favor people all the time, especially employers. So I reported to HR, I reported to my boss, I reported to everything. I reported it specifically as harassment. I don't just say, hey, this was kind of a problem that I ran into. I specifically report it as harassment because that's what it is. If someone is threatening you in any sort of way or raising their voice or belittling you, you should feel safe enough to report it as harassment. And any company saying otherwise is does not know the law at all. So that's something you'll have to deal with yourself. But I reported it and basically just got a we'll investigate it, the typical thing. But I went on my vacation and I came back. I'm like, okay, let's hope it's fixed. It is what it is at the end of the day. Figured that would be the most logical thing. And I come back. First thing I look at is the schedule, as always. They cut my hours. Not just cut my hours, but on days that I was already going to be scheduled, just marked me off. Just went, no, you don't exist anymore on that day. And I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They are trying to change it. They're trying to maybe figure out a solution. Maybe they'll come talk to me about it. So I wait 1 week. I wait 2 weeks. I wait 3 weeks of legit just waiting to hear anything about schedule changes or how I could make up the hours or anything like that because I do think it is logical that you don't want those two co-workers, one guy who's reporting someone for harassment and one person who's screaming at people to basically be working together. Obviously. But after 3 weeks, no word. Not even a in passing of like, hey, I'm really busy right now. We can schedule a meeting for this time, to be able to sit down and talk because we don't have like an open door HR system. We have an open door policy, but for open door policy, that requires you to be able to walk in and talk to the boss. And if they're always busy, you just can't. Just just logically, right? And after these 3 weeks, I noticed that they started cutting more hours and started taking more away from me and started giving me 10 times the amount of responsibility than anybody else in the store. So I was like, okay, I'll thug it out for I'll thug it out for 2 more days. If nobody talks to me, then we'll see. And this is a very toxic mindset that a lot of employees get into. It's toxic not towards the company, I guess, but it's toxic towards yourself. You're putting anxiety and you're putting a weight on your shoulders that shouldn't be there in a job. You should never be in a job situation where you're like, if someone doesn't talk to me in this day, well, then I'm quitting. Or if somebody doesn't talk to me by this time, well, I'm leaving. And it sucks that people have to get to that point, but that is incredibly toxic. Like it just is. It's a toxic work environment. And at that point, if you are at a toxic work environment and it's not being fixed, there is no fixing it. The fix is you moving on with your life. And at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to think that this video is about me complaining. It really, this video is about me sharing my experience and just what I did and how I don't believe anybody should have to tolerate, just being pushed around. You're a human. We're all human at the end of the day. You shouldn't be treated any less human than anyone else because of status. And that's just a simple fact of life. But yeah, so I waited, and I ended up just being like, "Yo, I quit," because I didn't like go in and like throw a temper tantrum or anything like that. I did it in probably the most professional way that I guess you could quit, um, where I just told them just straight up I quit. And obviously they asked me why and all this stuff, and I'm like, well, it's pretty clear you guys are retaliating against me for reporting someone for harassment. And then immediately after I said that, they went into this big tangent about how that's not true, how they planned on meeting with me tomorrow. They just happened to want to meet with me the day after I quit. And told them that I was quitting for harassment and like all this stuff. And at first, I kind of felt bad because I'm like, I feel guilty for the people that are I'm cool with there. I feel guilty for the people that I've made maybe not personal friends, but work friends. But then a part of me at the same time is like, no, these people should have reported stuff too. Like they should have been speaking up because it wasn't just happening to me; it was happening to them. So when I told them, because I specifically told the same people that had the same situation happen that I'm reporting her for harassment, they should have spoken up too, because that person should not be working there. You like the person who is screaming at employees, yelling at customers, threatening other people should not be working in a social situation. I'm just sorry to say it. It's just not logical, especially when 99% of the bad reviews you get are because of that person, because of them threatening workers or threatening regular customers, and that's just crazy. It's crazy to me. And right now, I have applied to like a bunch of other jobs and everything, and I'm not really too concerned about it. I am a fairly young guy, I mean, I know you guys have called me Unc a couple times, but I'm only 23. Guys, listen, I'm not, I'm not, I'm not dead. I'm not decaying yet. Listen, listen. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird situation, and a lot of people will be like, "Oh, just thug it out until you get another job." I would prefer to genuinely be able to just sleep at night. Because for me, and I think for a lot of people out there, when you build up too much anxiety and you build up too much stress and you build up too much of the entire world kind of almost bearing on your shoulders, it puts this unbelievable stress onto you where it's hard to sleep at night. It's hard to function during the day. It's hard to be good socially. Like in general, that's the truth. It is incredibly difficult to just try to continue to be alive once you get to a certain point. So I would prefer to take the hit of like living as broke as possible because I've done that, when I was a kid. I'm already used to that from when I was a kid. I would prefer to take that hit than to continue to lose sleep at night. And I think that's something that you have to decide for yourself if you're in a similar situation like that. If you are truly being like harassed, threatened, and like all that stuff, you have to make the decision: is it worth getting, that one or two extra paychecks, or is it worth just going, yeah, I'll just take the hit for a while and I'll just go somewhere else? Because no company ever should have the right to threaten you or to belittle you at all. And that's just a fact. Yeah. That's all I really want to talk about today. Did apply for a bunch of new jobs. which will pay way, 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 way more. When I say that much, I do mean that much, by the way. But yeah, I just hope that this video could help someone. You know, maybe if you're dealing with something similar or anything of that sort, then I hope that this video finds you well, and I hope that it's able to help you in some way, shape, or form. But thank you guys for watching, and have a good day. Peace.